Cancer destroys your rhythm, your pace, at every level. The daily routine, the stuff you had energy for, the reasons you found for doing them, they don't fit together like they used to. Suddenly life loses its sense of flow. It's bad during treatment, but it can be even worse afterward. You can get overwhelmed by anxiety and depression and fear, especially if they tell you that it's going to come back.
These are hard times.
One of the things that got me through my cancer treatment was the goal of running a 50K trail run 9 months after chemo ended. It was an aggressive goal, considering it had been 18 months of infections and emergency surgeries and delayed chemo treatment. A lot of that time was spent in an easy chair, flipping channels and watching reruns, just sort of feeling my muscles atrophy, and they had to take the bone plate out of my skull because it got infected. That left the brain exposed, and so it would kind of throb and bulge out when I moved too much. They had to take the top layer of the lat muscle from my shoulder down to the small of my back and graft it onto my skull. So by the time all of that was over, I was in pretty rough shape.
And I woke up on the ground, tasting money in my mouth. I was.
So 4 months into training, I decided to register for the Bloomsday 12K road race. I mean, 7 miles, that's just a warm-up run in the old days. No big deal. Only Bloomsday's huge, it's 40,000 people, and you're just part of that crowd, and there's people going faster than you and people going slower than you, and I was being my old me, running my old pace, and that old pace didn't work anymore. So by mile 3, I'd burned out, and I barely made it over the finish line, and that race was ugly. It was just defeating. I was just so used to having a body that had been running for so many years. You know, I guess 1.5 years without running clearly shouldn't be able to pick up where it left off, but, you know, you're used to who you were, and I guess I'm not that person right now, but I'll get there. It becomes really clear that I have to do this for the joy of doing it. 2 weeks after that disaster of Bloomsday, I was signed up for a 10K trail run along beautiful Lake Pend Oreille. But on race morning, I was inspired to switch from the 10K to the 25K. It had only been 2 weeks since I stumbled over the Bloomsday finish line. I mean, what was I thinking? And part of me just said it was stupid, but the other part of me just said I had to do it, I had to try. So there I was, lined up with 60 other people, and there's nothing you could do once you head out there. I mean, it's a trail run. There's no backup plan. I knew the only way I could make it through was to find someone to keep me on pace. About a mile in, the first few runners started to lag and stood to the side to let people pass. A woman in neon green compression socks looked like she was going about the right speed. For the next 8 miles or so, I locked my eyes onto those neon green compression socks. Despite the burning in my quads and my knees, I knew if I broke my rhythm, my body would probably crash. So I kept focused on those socks, and they pulled me along. For 6 or 7 more miles, she kept me going. Finally, around mile 12, I just couldn't wait anymore. My bladder needed to be emptied, and I came to a hill I just had to stop. So I veered off into the bushes, and when I came out 30 seconds later, it was totally quiet. But I remembered a guy with a bright blue hydration pack who had passed me a few seconds earlier, and I knew he was close enough to catch. And for the last few miles, that blue hydration pack just pulled me along. If it wasn't for him, those last few miles would have been slow and discouraging. Instead, they were probably the most rewarding, as it became clear I would run the entire 15 miles, other than major hills. Sometimes in life we can find our own pace and enjoy the run. Other times things get tough and we need to find those people who can be our pacers. We need to find someone's neon green compression socks and their blue hydration pack and lock our eyes on those and let them pull us along. And then there are times when we need to be that encouragement for someone else. We just have to remember we're all on the trail together.